Well, howdy there, Internet people. It's Bo again, and welcome to the Roads with Bo. Today we are doing the Roads Not Taken Special Trump Exhibit F. I think we're on F. Figured we'd do this before it got too close to the holidays because odds are a whole lot of these proceedings are just going to slow down or stop, at least in the public's view, until after the new year. So give you a recap of where the big developments have occurred lately and then kind of run on from there before we get our little break in. Okay, so starting off with the big news. This we'll probably end up with a video on this over on the other channel. Kenneth Chesebro apparently told Michigan prosecutors about a briefing that Trump had related to the whole fake electors thing. So he described a briefing in which he took part to Michigan officials. CNN has reportedly obtained the recordings. I've listened to bits and pieces of it so far. The recordings describe how Chesebro basically made Trump aware of the electors and what they were doing and how it was working. And the interesting part was that the real deadline, so to speak, as far as changing the outcome of the elections was not the date that some believed at the time, but it was, you guessed it, January 6th. Yeah. There's probably going to be a lot more to come out of that. Okay, speaking of January 6th, we'll take a look at the D.C. case real quick. So, Judge Chutkan ruled that the federal election interference case that's going on there in D.C. would be put on hold pending the outcome of Trump's presidential immunity claims. This gave the former president a much sought-after win, something he desperately needed in his quest to delay the proceedings until after the election. So early on that day, it looked pretty good for Trump. I imagine he was pretty happy. That win was pretty short-lived because just a little while after Chutkan made that ruling, the appeals court agreed to hear the case on an expedited basis. Briefs will be filed between December 23rd and January 2nd. So over the holidays is when they're going to have their briefs in. The first date, I think, is for Trump's first brief. Then there's one from Smith's team, and then Trump gets to reply. The arguments have not been scheduled yet, but given this timeline, it seems incredibly unlikely that this is going to grant Trump the delay that he needs to push it beyond the election, if he gets a delay at all. Currently, the case is scheduled to go to trial on March 4th. In an even worse turn of events for the former president, a federal appeals court ruled that he cannot use presidential immunity to dismiss a civil defamation case brought by E. Jean Carroll. If this immunity is so weak it can't protect him from a defamation claim in a civil case, it's probably not going to help much in a criminal case. The E. Jean Carroll case, I believe, is set to go to trial in January. Now, as far as the investigation itself into the election interference stuff, we now know that Smith's team accessed Trump's phone records for the post-election period. There's a lot of speculation about an expert witness that was disclosed. The witness deals with technical phone data. So the expert will be able to tell the court who was called and when, but more importantly, combined with other records, they would be able to tell who Trump called and then who they called, which might cause an issue for the former president if the way it looks is the way it is. That could be incredibly damaging. Something else the witness might be able to show is not just the pattern of calls, but it could show when Trump was using Twitter and what he was aware of at what times and how he responded, which would also probably be pretty damaging to the former president. It could also be used to show location information, which I don't know that would be damaging, but it might be enlightening. It might have a lot to do with some of the other testimony that we have heard. Now, the other big news is coming out of the New York case right now. So, the Trump case in New York has ended the testimony portion after 10 weeks or so of testimony. So now both sides are going to get to write their briefs. The briefs have to be in by January 5th. Summations occur on January 11th. A verdict is expected by the end of January. So that case is basically done. Everything that is going to happen with that, all of the dramatic stuff, it's occurred. We are now at the point where the attorneys are handing in their final briefs, and then the judge is going to make the final determination. The general consensus among legal observers is that Trump is going to end up paying a sizable fee here. How much is up for debate. Whether or not the, quote, corporate death penalty gets enacted is also up for debate. But the general tone is that it did not go well for the former president overall. That's not incredibly surprising if you were keeping up with the day-to-day on that. Now, in random Trump news, it's apparently very important for people to know that Trump aced his recent cognitive test. Apparently, that's still something that he thinks is really hard to do. I would like to point out that I once passed one after a head injury. But, okay, other than that, we have Trump claiming that Biden is going to lead the country into a 1929-style depression. While here in the real world, the Dow Jones hit an all-time high. It is worth remembering that Trump was the first president since Hoovervilles were a thing to leave the office with less jobs than when he started. I don't know that running on the economy is really going to help Trump on this one. Most of Biden's term has been fixing Trump's mistakes. So that's it for right now. That's the news in the Trump legal world. It's worth remembering that we know now that Cheesebro is basically on tour, talking to various jurisdictions about what occurred. It's probably pretty likely that there are other witnesses doing the same thing. This is something that might end up bringing Trump into yet another criminal case in yet another jurisdiction. The recordings and the testimony that he's reportedly provided is what would be needed if the prosecution was trying to tie the local events to Trump, which may lead to charges against Trump. But that's it. Everything else right now is already kind of on hold. There may be more developments before the new year, but it seems unlikely. I think our biggest surprise would be maybe somebody in the Atlanta case deciding that it's time for them to cooperate or something along those lines. I don't think we're going to have any huge surprises until the new year now, or any major developments. But I mean, it is Trump world, so there could be one tomorrow. But that's where we're at. So you have a little bit more information, a little more context, and having the right information will make all the difference. Y'all have a good day.